What's going on, everybody? It's Ty, aka MidwestReefer, and I'm back with the new video. Sorry that it took so long to get this one out, but like some of you guys know, I've been preoccupied with some other stuff, and my schedule isn't as open as I would like it to be. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this video. Everybody, so we're at the Fluval first, and for those of you who pay close attention to my tanks, you may already know the difference with it, but if not, I'm gonna go ahead and let you know right now. There are no corals on the sand bed anymore. So from day one, me setting up this tank and putting coral in it, this frog spawn here and this frog spawn here have always been on the sand bed. Now they may have been here, they may have been over here, but they've always been on the sand bed. And you know, the conch has been knocking them over, and you know, crabs get to them, and they just haven't had the best life on the floor, although they haven't had the worst life neither. But it was time to finally start doing different scaping with this tank, get more coral in this tank, and just kind of get a different look. You know, my biggest goal when setting up the saltwater tank in the beginning was just to keep these fish alive.
Don't you do that. Don't you say your goodbyes. Not yet. Do you understand me?
You know, these two, I don't talk about them very often, but these two clownfish were my everything. It's the first fish I bought. They were $100 a piece when I got them. Never set up a saltwater tank before. So these, even though I don't talk about them very often, probably are my biggest success story, or my two clowns, because, you know, that I achieved my goal. It's been over a year. They're healthy, they're strong, and they do well in the tank, and they love it, and including the firefish too. But these, you know, spending that much money as a beginning reefer, when I did, was kind of a big feat at the time. Also, I don't have a name for these two. I was going to name them, and I never did. If you guys have any suggested names, leave them in the comments below, or also let me know if you guys name your fish or if you just call them fish. Right now, these are just called fish. This one is called Torch. If you go back to my older video last year, you'll see when I introduced Torch. So he does have a name, but these two don't have a name. You know, we have a male and a female. We do have one that is larger than the other. So if you guys have any name ideas, let me know for the two Picasso clownfish. Anyway, back to the coral setup. As you can see, these are doing very, very good. They seem a lot happier on the rock. I wasn't exactly sure how they would go since I had all my corals initially placed based off the flow that I have in my tank. But they're doing really good. Everything is just waking up right now. I am filming this video a little early, so everything is kind of just waking up. But as you can see, the corals look good. And then these bad boys right here, if you guys remember the zoas, if you go back to some of my earlier videos, these zoas were doing horrible in the Pico tank. Just really, really, really bad. They were constantly closed up. They had hair algae all over them. They were losing their color, and they just hated it. Now they've grown, shoot, probably 6 more heads. They've come out way more. Look at the colors just popping on these Hulk zoas that I call them. And I'm very, very happy that they're doing good in their spot. And that definitely encourages me to get some more coral in this tank. A lot of you guys may know I'm very particular about how everything looks. So I'm slow going when I add stuff in my tank. And I'm just not throwing everything in there. I want to make sure all the pieces are going to showcase well. They're going to be out. They're going to show color. I just don't want to throw a lot of random coral in there. I hate the frag plug showing, so you know, I let them sit for a while with just coral putty to make sure they do good, and then I'll go ahead and break the frag plug off if I'm able to and glue them down. So it's a slow going process. I'm still looking for that golden hammer, so if anybody has any connects for a golden hammer that's not $300, maybe a small frag, that'd be awesome if you want to go ahead and you know, put me on to that. But yeah, anyway, the fluval is doing excellent. Now, one thing that I've had going on with this fluval for a while that I haven't let anybody know is that these snails, the black-footed trochus snails, have been reproducing like crazy. Speaking of reproducing, I just found one of the little babies right here on the back wall.
Oh, look at the little baby.
Oh!
Do you guys see that? I have a bunch of these in here, and you know, excuse my ignorance, I'm not sure if like if these particular snails are like asexual, where they're all born male, or if they can, you know, if they are male and female and they can reproduce on their own. I know some snails do mate with a partner, but I'm not sure about these trochus snails. So if you guys know, let me know down in the comments below. But it's crazy because When I was having the hair algae problem in this tank, what I did was obviously put some GFO in there. I did my water changes, but one of the biggest success stories I had for getting it off the rocks was getting these trochus snails. And I don't know how I didn't remember that with dealing with the issue with the Pico tank. So since I have a bunch of babies in here to spare, of course, I went ahead and finally threw some in the Pico tank. Speaking of the Pico tank, let's go ahead and take a look at that bad boy. All right, guys, so we're over here at the Pico tank, and as you can see, this tank is completely algae free. That's right, I won the battle again with my second tank, and honestly, I couldn't be happier. Now, everything is just waking up in this tank as well, but ever since I've made the changes to this tank, everything has been doing so much better. This Akin's doing better since I've glued its base back and done the adjustments for the tank. The rainbow is getting a lot bigger than what it was, and even this frag over here of Akin's is coming out a lot more as well. Of course, we still have the extra heads growing on the Duncan, right? So we got 1, 2, and we got 3 over here growing on the Duncan. It will sprout out a lot more later on in the day. Like I said, everything, the lights just came on maybe about 20 minutes ago. So I'd say the corals look pretty good for only being, you know, up for about 20 minutes or so. I did replace that high door pump. The high door pump that I had here was 180 gallons at the beginning. I went ahead and put a 70 gallon per hour pump on there. Lower the flow down a little bit more. These corals are a lot lower depths, and they definitely have a current, but they don't have like hard waves hitting them all the time. And with the return pump already being 180, this being 180 at first, I thought that was a little much. So I dialed this pump back to a 70 gallon per hour pump. Of course, I dimmed the lights, or didn't dim them. I dialed back the intensity. I raised it higher from the tank. And then, of course, the GFO, I'm telling you, that GFO is a lifesaver. But where it really started getting spotless, like on the rock work and on the back wall, is when I added one of the baby black-footed trochus snails from the fluval tank. So if you guys are going through hair algae problems and your tank, water changes are definitely going to be key, but the next thing is lights, because of course algae need light to grow. And then once you get your lights in order, you get your water parameters in order, throw some GFO in there. If you haven't tried it, you don't need a name brand GFO, just get some plain GFO. You don't need any ChemiPure, you don't need any Purigen, you don't need any Phosgar, just GFO, I promise. I've tried all the other expensive stuff out there, and just good old-fashioned GFO will definitely do you good. And then, of course, to touch everything up, the cherry on top, throw you a snail or two in there. I have the trochus snail on the bottom covering the sand, and then I have this little, or the conch down here doing the sand, and the little trochus snail up here doing the glass work, the rock work, and everything else. And these guys are an excellent team. And if you guys go back to the last video where I said I was having problems, this tank looked horrid. And now everything is, spotless, and I couldn't be happier with the tank. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and cut the video here. If you have any questions or any comments, leave them down below. Until then, I'll see you guys in the next one.
Show you how to be the man, how to be the boss, how to come through with 7 coats of the gloss. Show you how to be the man.